Re:Zero Season 4 is about to be the most insane season of the anime yet. We're entering a new era in the story, and the truth about the character Petelgeuse has revealed a dark truth about the world that no one is talking about. So let's talk about the story, Petelgeuse, and what you can expect from the upcoming season. Most isekai anime have one thing in common: get killed by Truck-kun, wake up in another world as an overpowered MC, be a badass, get a harem, and rise to the top. But in Re:Zero, in a lot of ways, is an isekai masterpiece because it does none of that. In truth, it feels like the entire premise of the show is deconstructing the isekai genre and making sure the MC witnesses as much suffering as humanly possible. I really like you both! The story started with the main character, Natsuki Subaru, going to a convenience store for a late-night snack run while he wipes his eyes and finds out that he has been whisked to the magical world of Lugunica. That was it. No Truck-kun whatsoever. Just blink and you're in another world. The cool thing is Subaru immediately recognizes that he has been reincarnated, which was refreshing to see. Here I was thinking it was good to find an MC who doesn't take forever to come to an obvious realization. I was very wrong. Like us, Subaru expects that he's going to be an OP MC, but he's immediately introduced to the harsh realities of Lugunica.
I'm sorry!
He's rescued by a beautiful elven lady, Emilia. They try to retrieve her stolen insignia, and they both end up dying at the hands of an assassin. Cue an ominous soundtrack later. Subaru is alive again in the market he was in earlier that day, and it's not until he dies and returns over and over again that he finally realizes that he can respawn every time he dies. See, I told you he was a dimwit. Basically, Subaru's ability is called Return by Death, which is exactly as the name implies. It's the classic Groundhog Day time loop, but with an added twist. When Subaru dies, he goes back in time to a randomly selected save point. From then, he can relive his experiences and change aspects of his future. It's interesting to see how Subaru interacts with this ability. Bro literally has the record for the highest number of deaths by an anime MC. Subaru got PTSD after dying so many times at the hands of some truly diabolical personalities and scenarios. He even died at the hands of rabbits at one point. The cool thing is that if he's able to successfully change the future, the save point moves and he doesn't have to keep coming back to the same place after years of surviving. But the other crazy part is bad things happen to him whenever he tries to tell anyone about this ability of his. Subaru got this power from the Witch of Envy, Satella, who is kind of the boogeyman of the story, and we don't really know what her deal is. She seems to have an obsession with Subaru and feels like she owes him everything. That's why she gave him Return by Death. She says it's a power that transcends mortality and destiny, but we'll talk more about that in a sec. Subaru uses this power to basically cheat fate throughout the series. After befriending Emilia and learning about her candidacy for the throne of Lugunica, his big mission is to ensure that Emilia becomes the new ruler of the kingdom, which is a little problematic because everyone thinks she looks too much like the Witch of Envy. Subaru also meets a line of fascinating characters like Beatrice, Julius, Jaculius, Otto Suin, the Dr. Dolittle of the verse, Garfield, Ram, and everyone's favorite girl, Rem. She's an Oni and Subaru's biggest fan, even though she actually killed Subaru early on in the story. She ended up falling for the guy, giving him a really great speech, and then she was basically removed from the story on a technicality. There are also some compelling villains in the story, like the Witch of Vainglory, Pandora, Roswell L. Mathers, and the Sin Archbishops, and the Cult of Witches, whose main aim is to resurrect the Witch of Envy. And the most notable being Petelgeuse Romanée-Conti, who was the main villain of the first season. This guy is bad news. Like, not only is he a religious fanatic obsessed with the Witch of Envy, he initially sees Subaru as a kindred spirit, who is blessed by the Witch of Envy, and when Subaru starts to oppose him, he starts torturing my man. He snaps Rem's limbs in front of him while mocking the boy. It's truly diabolical. Petelgeuse is insanely powerful. He has the witch factor of sloth, which is the power of the Witch of Sloth. And since he is also a spirit, he uses his powers to transfer his consciousness to members of the cult, actively making it difficult for him to be killed. Bro is also crazy and enjoys harming himself. He believes being diligent and consistent in using his powers is the way to further his goals. And it's all because of his love for the Witch of Envy. But even though Subaru did manage to defeat Petelgeuse in Season 1, it wasn't until Season 2 that we finally got some info about the person known as Petelgeuse. And that brings us to one of the main points of this video, because we believe that Petelgeuse's life reflects heavily on why Subaru is the way he is today. And once you understand Petelgeuse's history, you'll start to see some similarities. Now, for all of this to make sense, there's something you need to know about the world of Re:Zero. 400 years ago, before Subaru was summoned, there was a group of witches, each named after one of the 7 deadly sins. They all kinda did their own thing. The Witch of Greed, Echidna, liked her experiments and tinkering with magic. She's also the Witch of Knowledge, so she's a smart cookie. There's some major news about Echidna later in the video, by the way, so you don't want to miss that. The Witch of Sloth, Sekhmet, is extremely lazy but also incredibly powerful. The Witch of Gluttony, Daphne, was responsible for creating dangerous monsters called man-beasts in an attempt to end world starvation. It did not go so well. But here's where things get interesting. The most powerful witch of them all is the Witch of Envy. And one day she consumes half of the world and the 6 other witches, and she would have gotten away with it had she not been sealed by the 3 heroes, the divine dragon Vulcania, the sword saint Reed Astria, and the sage Flugel. They sealed her body in a tower, and the seal is currently being protected by the divine dragon Vulcania. 300 years later, a forest village of elves guards a different seal, the seal of Elior. It holds something else entirely that we don't really know. The Cult of Witches was formed at this point, not as a terrorist organization, but as keepers of the peace who seek to preserve the history of witches. There, we meet a younger Emilia and her aunt Fortuna, whom Emilia considers to be her mother. Not only that, there are also the members of the Cult of Witches who routinely come to visit the village and deliver clothes and other items to the elves. They made sure Emilia and the elves were safe and well provided for. They are led by Petelgeuse Romanée-Conti, a founding member of the Cult of Witches, although at the time he was known as Geuse, and he had a thing for Emilia's aunt, and a deep reverence for Emilia. The context of why the elves are guarding the seal is not revealed to us, nor do we know why Emilia is so important to the cult. But something odd is going on. In the village, Emilia is ordered to stay hidden, but she has a tendency of wandering off. She meets Geuse, and he is so overjoyed to see her that he starts to cry. They eventually catch up with Fortuna, and the interactions between the 3 of them is quite wholesome. But just then, they are approached by Pandora, the Witch of Vainglory, and Regulus Corneas, the Archbishop of Greed. And from the reaction of Geuse and Fortuna, it's obvious that these guys are the ops. Fortuna tries attacking them, but her ice magic does little damage. Geuse instructs her to run away with Emilia, and he joins with the witch factor of Sloth, which was given to him by the sage Flugel. Sadly, his body is incompatible with the factor, but he manages to slow them even just a little bit, but Regulus is merciless towards him. Not only does Bro rip off his arm, he literally tries to bash Geuse's head in with his foot. I mean, if you've seen Re:Zero Season 3, you'd know how much of a maniac Regulus is. Geuse is eventually saved by Fortuna, and it's here we find out that Pandora has the ability to rewrite reality, at least based on a singular person. Keep that in mind. She transports Regulus back to his wives and undoes the damage he did to Geuse. Then she meets Emilia, who is now at the seal, and we find out that Emilia is the key to opening the seal and releasing whatever is inside. Despite Pandora's nudging, she's unable to convince Emilia to open the door. By this time, Fortuna runs into them and tries to get Emilia away from her. Things get emotional again between Fortuna and her niece, but in that moment, Geuse flies. His mind is all out of whack, and he sees Pandora next to Fortuna, so he attacks her, sending an attack through her chest. Sadly, that was Fortuna that he had mistaken for Pandora. Fortuna falls to the floor and dies in the arms of Emilia. Geuse watches in horror as his mind finally clears, and he realizes what he has done. His mind starts to snap. This is what causes his madness. Emilia starts to lose control of her magic due to her hatred of Pandora and envelops the entire forest with ice. Pandora realizes there's no way that she'll be able to get Emilia to open the seal, so she manipulates Emilia's memories so Emilia wouldn't forget her. And then she does her rewriting thing on Geuse's mind and basically transforms him into the Petelgeuse we know. She tells him not to feel bad because he did everything he did due to his love for Fortuna, and it's that love that she transforms into his obsession for Satella. Now, why is Petelgeuse's story so important? It's because when you really think about it, there are just too many similarities between Petelgeuse and Subaru. I mean, in a lot of ways, Subaru is the successful version of Petelgeuse. Petelgeuse was a diligent and loving man willing to sacrifice his life to protect those he loved. And so is Subaru. Petelgeuse got the power to hop from body to body, thereby evading death. Petelgeuse relies on this ability a lot to go after what he wants. Subaru has the Return by Death ability, which also helps him evade death and change his destiny, and for a good chunk of the story. This was what Subaru relied upon to save the people he cared about. There's also their relationship with the ones they loved. Petelgeuse's love went from simple love to obsession, and the same almost happened to Subaru, until he learned to love himself and see his friends as capable of helping him. Subaru reduced his reliance on RBH, and that's how he was able to escape the Petelgeuse path. And boy, did that end up being a boon for Subaru. Now that he's become someone who can rely on people, not only was he and Emilia able to defeat Regulus in Season 3, but his friends were all able to defeat the other archbishops just like Subaru believed they would. The second reason I think Petelgeuse's story is so important is that it reveals who I believe to be the big bad of the story, and that's Pandora. We see that it was through her manipulations that the cult of witches got turned into a terrorist group, and anything that they have done since then is because Pandora wanted it that way. When you really look at it, Subaru is an anomaly that has been stopping Pandora's plans, and boy does her plans really start to take form in the next arc of the series. Now, I'm going to be revealing some of the things that are going to happen in the upcoming Arc 6, which is being adapted in Season 4. So there's going to be some light spoilers. Now, after the battle for Pristella with the archbishops, a lot of names and memories have been eaten by the Sin Archbishops of Gluttony, and the dragon blood has afflicted a lot of the residents of Pristella. So now, Subaru and his team need to seek out the wise sage Flugel to get his insight and information to fix all these problems. Also, they're going to try to get Rem's memories back, which is awesome. The fandom needs their favorite waifu back. But this is easier said than done, because the rumored housing ground of the sage is called the Pleiades Watchtower. It's a multi-layered fortress that houses the seal holding the body of the Witch of Envy. It's in a place known as the Augria Sand Dunes, a treacherous desert area that's surrounded by a barrier called Sand Time, which literally distorts space, so no matter how much you try, you can't even get close to the fortress. Additionally, desert storms are coming in left and right to cause mayhem, so it's really not safe. This place is so dangerous that even Reinhardt was unable to cross the desert, and Bro had to form questionable alliances just to survive. I mean, if you've seen the trailers, you'll notice that Meili is also accompanying them on the journey, and she's a villain from the earlier seasons. Now, I like a good redemption arc as much as the next guy, but the fact that these guys were willing to let someone as unhinged as Melee accompany them shows that what they're going to be facing is going to be a lot worse. The funny part is, when the party eventually reaches the fortress, things are not as they seem, and they have to undergo a crazy set of trials that makes the Sanctuary arc look like child's play. And honestly, we are not ready for some of the big reveals that happen in this arc, things that even I'm not mad enough to tell you, but just know that this tower will push the team to the edge, and things don't really go well for Subaru. I mean, for those of you who said that Subaru didn't die a lot in Season 3, I guarantee that you're going to be shocked by how many times he dies in Season 4. What I love about this arc is that it is the culmination of the things that fans love about the series. If you enjoyed the psychological rollercoaster of Season 2 and the non-stop action of Season 3, then Season 4 does a very good job of combining those two factors, as well as delivering those gut-wrenching emotional moments that will either make you cry or extremely happy. Nope, seriously, some moments in this arc guaranteed to break the internet if it's done properly. The world building is also cranked to an 11. You will not believe the amount of lore that gets thrown our way about certain characters like Echidna that will flip the entire story. In the end, I think Season 4 might just be the kick that pushes ReZero to mainstream anime status. And if it does well, we won't have to wait 4 more years to get a Season 5. So that's about it for the truth about Petelgeuse madness and what it means for the story and why you should be hyped about the new season of ReZero. Let us know how you feel about Season 4 in the comments below, and if you want to see more such breakdowns of your favorite anime, then click on the videos on the screen.